Hi guys, my name is Scott Wilson. I'm with Houston Event Photography, and I'm making a video for Kirk. And this is my video on my workflow that I use for my drone pictures. I go up just about every day and take a picture of the sunset. If I get up early enough in the morning, I'll do a sunrise too. And a lot of the local news channels use my pictures in their weather forecast. They'll show pictures that people take of the skies, and they use a lot of my pictures. And I also have a lot of people that follow me on Facebook that like seeing my pictures. So I'm going to show you my workflow and how I create my pictures. I got interested in drones about a year ago when Kirk started showing some pictures online that he was using his, and I went out and I bought one. And when I first started putting my pictures together, they looked horrible. They didn't look anything like Kirk's pictures did. So he put up a little tutorial, but he uses Bridge, and I don't use Bridge. I use Lightroom. Uh, I know I spend the $10 a month, and I have the Creative Cloud, so I get all the newest updates. And I really like some of the adjustments that I can make in Lightroom. I'm told you can do them in Bridge, but I don't know how. So I'm going to show you my workflow, and we'll just go from there. To start off, I bought a Phantom 3 professional drone. It has a 12 megapixel still camera and a 4K video camera on it. And it takes amazing pictures for being such a small little camera. I don't know if you can see in this picture down here. I'm going to zoom in, but you can actually see the ducks in this pond. And I'm probably 150 feet up in the air when I take this picture. So it's really amazing all the detail that it will capture. This was late at night. The sun had already set. I was late getting out. So there is a lot of grain in this picture because it was probably shooting at 3200 ISO. But still, the pictures online that I send up to the news media and I put on Facebook, they look great. This is a final image that you're seeing on the screen. This is a panoramic picture I took, and I do take panoramics usually when I do a sunset. I'll start out over on the left third of the picture. Um, I'll shoot this part of the frame, and then I'll turn my drone to the right a little bit, and I kind of capture the center part of it, and then I move it again to the right and capture the far right hand side of the panoramic. And I let Lightroom put this together, stitch all this together, and I'm going to show you how I do that. So down here at the bottom, I've got 5 frames. These 5 frames right here. I set my drone up. You go into the app and open up the drone app, and there's camera settings in there, and I have mine set where I'm shooting in what's called auto exposure bracketing mode, and it will let you tell it how many frames you want it to shoot. It gives you the option of 3 or 5 frames, and you can also make adjustments to the exposure value that you want it to bracket those pictures at. I keep mine set at either 2/3 of a stop or a full stop. I think it'll go all the way up to 3 stops, overexposed or underexposed, but I keep mine at 1 or sometimes less, just depending. So you set that up in the app, and then when I take a picture, such as this one, this is the left third of the picture, of the panoramic picture I showed you. It takes 5 frames and it brackets those 5 frames based on what your exposure value you have set. So I've got a normal exposure, and then I've got 2 exposures that are overexposed and 2 exposures that are underexposed, depending on the EV value that I set, which in this case I had it set at 2/3 under and 2/3 over. So take these 5 images, and I'm going to go up here at the top up here to photo, and I'm going to go to photo merge, and I'm going to say merge HDR. Now I'm going to let it do this to kind of show you how it works, but for the sake of time I've already got all these images processed out. I keep my HDR options on auto align, and I keep my deghost amount either on low or medium. The camera's amazing how steady it is when it's in the air. It has a gimbal on it that holds that camera perfectly still no matter what is happening. I mean, I've shot in 30 and 40 mile an hour winds and still got amazing pictures that I could overlay into one image, and you really couldn't tell that I took this with a drone. So that's what it did. It took those 5 images and made this one image that it layered out of all 5 of those images, which gives you a super amount of detail when you go in there and start working on it. Now, like I said, I've already processed these, so I'm going to cancel this out so we don't have to wait on it. And down at the bottom of my in my thumbnails, you'll notice I got some images that have a lot of little icons on them. That one, this one, and this one. These are the 15 exposures that I shot, and they've all been merged into 3 files. So I'm going to take these 3 just by holding Command or Control on your Mac or your PC. You can click these 3 files, go up to Photo again, go back into Photo Merge, and this time I'm going to say Panorama. And I'm going to let it process out so that I can show you some of the features that are built into Lightroom. Kirk says that you can do this in Bridge, but like I said, I don't use Bridge, so I don't know how to do it. That was really quick because I'd already processed this picture one time before, but it normally takes longer than that. I use the spherical projection up here. Cylindrical works really well too. Perspective doesn't work at all when you're doing a landscape, so far as I can tell. I used to just have auto crop, and I'll show you what that does. When you auto crop it, it takes out all the pixels that don't have any image in them and makes one image. Now the bad thing about this is it cropped out my lake down here at the bottom. I want to see all of my lake. And before, I couldn't really do anything about that. But now Lightroom, the newest version, this 2015 Creative Cloud that just came out August 2016, has this new feature called Boundary Wrap in it, a warp in it. And you can stretch this out, and it does a really good job of bringing out all the image area, and you get rid of all that white area that wasn't useful to you. I'm going to hit merge on this one, and I'm going to let it process because we're going to work on that image. And again, I'm going to show you this is what we're going for, is an image like this. And I'll show you how we started out with this image as soon as this processes out. I'll show you all my steps that I use, and then I'll show you how to make a preset where if you have a lot of images similar, you can make a preset and it saves you a lot of time. So give me one more second here. This is an old Mac. It's probably 7 years old and doesn't have much RAM in it. Alright, we're finished. So I'm going to start out with this image. This is straight out of the camera. It's just all those images merged together. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to add some exposure to it because it was really late at night. Didn't have a lot of detail in the picture. I'm going to add a little contrast to it. My highlights, this red area up here is my highlights. They're clipping right now, which means if I tried to print this on paper, the area that's red wouldn't lay any ink down. So you just see the white paper through that area. You don't want to see that. So if you're going to print this, you want to get rid of that. I'm going to lower my highlights down. I'm going to come down here into my clarity, and I'm going to give it some clarity. And I'm going to give it a lot of saturation. Bring out those oranges and those reds and blues in the sky. Again, it clipped a little bit, so I'm going to lower my highlights down a little bit more. You notice the skies are getting even more orange. Then I'm going to come down and I'm going to add a little sharpening to this. There's a lot of noise in this picture because, like I said, it was shot at almost dark and the ISO was probably 3200. So we're going to go ahead and do that. DJI does have a lens profile built into Lightroom, so if you enable that, sometimes it makes a picture look better, sometimes it makes it look worse. In this case, I think it warped it a little bit, so I'm going to turn it back off. Another cool feature, in Lightroom is this dehaze. I don't know if it's in Bridge or not. It takes out some of the haziness of the sky and really brightens up the colors. So that's pretty much where I would probably stop. I might do a gradient adjustment on here. Do me a little bit of gradient adjustment, and if I do that, then I can adjust the highlights down some more, because they are still clipping a little bit. Maybe put a little more clarity, a little more dehaze, and that's really going to make those clouds pop. It's kind of making them purple now. It looks really pretty. The only other thing that I might do, get me a new brush and go down here and kind of lighten up this. I'm not using my tablet, I'm using a mouse, so it's not real precise. I might go down here and in this lake and kind of lighten some of this up a little bit, lower my exposure down, and say done. And just for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and save this. I'm going to export it out. I leave mine in the same folder as my original pictures, and then I just put it in a subfolder called Proofs. I'm going to export that out so I can use this image online. And now I'm going to show you how to make a preset. So I'm going to show you, this is where we started. Reset this. I got the spinning wheel there. It's trying to do too much. This is where we started at, and this is where we kind of ended at. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to hit this little plus mark over here, and if your panels are hidden, you just got this little arrow that hides your panels. Hit the little plus mark, and I'm going to call this one Pro4uM test. I'll leave everything checked that's checked and say create. Now I should be able to reset this picture and go over here where it says Pro4uM test and hit that button, and bam, it's right back to where it was. So that's a good starting point for me for my next picture that I'm going to work on. You'll notice I've got a whole bunch of presets in here. Some of them are more saturated than others, but that one's really nice, the one we just made. So that's how I do my workflow. If you have any questions, shoot me an email, and I appreciate you watching. Thanks.